Floods, hurricanes, broken pipes, even water from putting out a fire. These are just a few of the things that can cause water damage to your home or business. Hi there. We're water restoration specialists. You know, dealing with water damage can be stressful, traumatic, and very expensive. You're probably worrying right now about just how long it's going to take to get your life back in order, and exactly what we're going to have to do to accomplish that. While this is hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime event for you, we deal with situations like this every day. Our entire business is built around restoring your property to pre-loss condition and getting your life back on track as fast as possible. We work with insurance companies all the time and are very familiar with what we need to do to make the process go smoothly for all involved parties. In this video, I'll explain how we're going to restore your property using the thermal energy system, or TES, and directed heat drying. The key to successful restoration is speed. Drying out buildings fast reduces the chance for what we call secondary damage. Secondary damage includes things such as mold growth, damage to structural materials like framing, drywall, or flooring, and damage caused by high humidity to books, papers, artwork, and so on. That's why we use the most advanced drying equipment and techniques. It's based on cutting-edge drying science and works 2 to 3 times faster than conventional drying systems. Before I explain why the TES system works so well, it's important to understand the old way of doing things. Conventional restoration is based on the principle of simply drying the air inside a building. This is done with dehumidifiers that slowly remove water from the air, condense it into liquid form, and then pump it into buckets or drains. The idea is that as the air gets drier and drier, the moisture in wet carpet and pads, walls, or floors will be drawn out of the materials as a vapor. The vapors are then removed by the dehumidifiers. Industrial fans are also used to speed evaporation from the wet materials. This method of drying buildings was developed decades ago, and it does work, but it has several drawbacks. First, it's slow. It can easily take 5 to 7 days to dry a water-damaged home or business correctly. More complex cases can take even longer. Second, if the structure is not completely dried fast enough, some materials may have to be replaced that could otherwise be saved. This increases the cost and the time to complete the job. Third, it takes a lot of equipment that's very loud and hard to live with. And if it gets turned off, for example at night, the process of drying the air has to start all over again. Fourth, the amount of disruption to a household or business is really stressful and makes the entire restoration experience more of a nightmare than it has to be. While there are certain situations where using conventional drying systems still makes sense, we utilize TES equipment and directed heat drying. Directed heat drying is 2 to 3 times faster than conventional dehumidifier-based restoration. Here's why. Instead of drying the air, we deliver heat right to the water in wet materials. Heating up the water actually speeds up the water molecules, making it really want to evaporate. With this method, we don't have to spend any time drying the air because the heated up water wants to jump out of wet materials and into the air. Once that happens, we simply exhaust it to the outside with a temperature-controlled fan. Now, there's a lot of fancy science that explains this, but it might be easiest to understand using some common household examples. Have you ever stepped out of a hot shower into a bathroom filled with steamy air? Moisture is condensed on the mirror, counter, and other surfaces. But if you point your hairdryer at the mirror for a minute, it clears right up. You can even dry your hair in this environment. You also use these exact same principles of drying science when you dry your clothes in the clothes dryer. Both of these are examples of the same drying science that we use with our TES equipment. Here's how we do it in your home or business. First, we use sophisticated instruments to determine the extent of the water damage. We then extract all the water we can in liquid form. The next step, and the key to our system, is to direct heated air to the water in the wet materials. For maximum effectiveness, we want to contain the heat only to those areas that are wet. After all, why heat up parts of the building that are already dry? Then we focus the heat where we want it to go with a number of techniques, such as directing warm air in between carpet and pad. This allows warm air to not only dry the carpet and pad, but also the subfloor, drywall, and sill plates. When damage has occurred to certain building elements, we contain the area using plastic or other materials. This ensures the warm air goes to the wet materials and nowhere else. We also use other specialized equipment in conjunction with TES and directed heat drying principles. Specialized equipment is occasionally needed to dry difficult materials, such as wood floors, insulated walls, plaster, stone and tile, cabinets, concrete, and so on. By using heat, the ambient air in the affected areas of your home or business will get warmer than usual. However, because we contain and treat only the affected areas, the rest of your home will be at a normal temperature. Even then, our system doesn't need to superheat the areas being treated. We maintain the temperature within a safe zone of between 95 and 99 degrees. There's no need to worry about damaging appliances, electronics, or even houseplants in the affected areas. We do recommend removing cosmetics, candles, perishable foods, or anything else that might melt or spoil on a hot summer day. While there are other heat drying systems on the market, they overheat your whole house, making it nearly impossible to live there during treatment. The extra heat also may cause major damage to appliances, electronics, and more. Only TES uses the directed heat drying concept that contains the heat only where we need it, to the wet materials. Directed heat drying also has an important health benefit. Because this system dries so fast, it eliminates conditions that allow mold and mildew to grow from the instant we begin drying. In addition, the operating temperatures of our drying system inhibit the growth of the vast majority of mold and fungi. And we don't leave the job until everything is dry. Our technicians check to make sure that your home or business is dry to the proper industry standards. Most of the time, we can dry water damage while you still occupy your home or business. If the damage is so severe that you cannot occupy the premises, our faster drying will get you back in much faster than other types of drying systems. What many property owners love about directed heat drying is how quiet it is. With conventional restoration, it can sound like an airplane inside the building because of all the noisy equipment. We use far fewer fans, and the heat component of our system is totally silent. You'll be able to live, work, or sleep comfortably while restoration is progressing. One of the biggest benefits of drying faster with directed heat drying is that we'll save far more of the structure and contents than any other method. We'll safely save carpet and pad, drywall, wood flooring, cabinets, tile and grout floors, stone and concrete, things that can't always be saved with conventional restoration. If these materials have to be replaced, it can increase the cost of restoration by thousands of dollars. It could also extend the time to complete the job by days, weeks, or even months. With directed heat drying and TES, you won't have to worry about exceeding policy limits or having strangers from a variety of contractors in your home for weeks on end, spreading construction dust and dirt all over everything. Of course, if there is damage that simply cannot be restored, these items will have to be repaired or replaced. However, with our drying system, there will be less reconstruction than any other drying system. And directed heat drying is a very green way to restore your property. Because we're on site for less time, we consume less electricity and use less gas going back and forth. And because we save the majority of materials, we save space in the landfill and are able to reduce the amount of chemical disinfectants applied. Your insurance company will also really appreciate that we use directed heat drying. Because we restore so much more than conventional restorers, there's far less replacement. This means that they can save thousands of dollars per claim and get their files closed much, much faster. Plus, they're really concerned about delivering great service to their policyholders when they have a claim. That's because they want them to renew their policies and also tell other people how great they were in handling the claim. We're so enthusiastic about our TES equipment and direct heat drying because it's a better and faster way to dry. If we could choose any system to dry our own homes, this is the one we'd use.